Hello, Lone Star Varsity coverage area. I'm Carlos Silva of AJ Media alongside Brian Avedete, our high school sports reporter extraordinaire. And we're here for a first week edition of the Lone Star Varsity Postgame Show, of course, brought to you by University Medical Center. And I just want to say what a 2 days it was at Lowry Field. We'll get to, of course, the Monterey ending and, of course, the Lubbock ending, the Lubbock High ending, pardon me, that was crazy. But yeah. You were at Lubbock Cooper Amarillo High. That was in Woodrow. I guess, what did you see there, man? Kind of a
wasn't a crazy ending, so to speak, but it was an exciting one, I think. With the way Amarillo runs its offense, it seemed a little bit slower than the game actually was. It was a lot more exciting.
They like to run it.
Yeah, they like to run the ball, but the way it started out was Lubbock Cooper was a little shaky offensively, which is to be expected. I mean, they have two quarterbacks that are going to be rotating in, and actually they were rotating the entire game. Like you talk about series after series after series. And of course that's Brendan Mill and Cole Carter. But no, Amarillo came out first. Their quarterback breaks a 60-plus yard run to the house, gets them up early. Cooper wasn't able to respond until the second quarter. They used a mismatch between the corner and Andrew Schimnacher, who's at 6'2", which is pretty good size for this area. And they ended up getting a 4-yard touchdown out of that. But the crazier thing was before that play, Brendan Mill had actually thrown an interception to the 1-yard line, and then they come around on the very next play, and one of their defensive tackles ends up scooping up the ball and getting them back at the 4th. So they didn't really lose anything. It was almost as if they completed a long pass. But no, they tie it up, and then turns into a kicking battle after that. Cooper was able to get a score or get a field goal, same as Amarillo. It's 10-10 going into the half, and I was really impressed with the Lubbock Cooper defense, because here in the second half, this is where they really shine.
Yes.
They only give up a field goal, and they keep forcing Amarillo to turn the ball over and giving themselves another chance. While that chance came kind of late in the fourth quarter, I mean, it was enough to win it in this first week. Andrew Schimnacher again came away with an impressive catch in the left side of the end zone. I thought it was a really good catch.
Well, if you think it's good, it's got to be good.
Yes, definitely. But they ended up winning it 17-13, and we actually caught up with Coach Catwinkle after the game.
I saw a lot of guts and effort tonight, playing a good, very good program and a good football team, and very fundamentally sound, and our kids never quit and battled all the way through. It was a very gutsy win for us, I think.
Once again, we appreciate Max Catwinkle. Of course, you spoke to him after the game. You wrote the Gamer. Mentioned that little I guess corner of the end zone, the left part of the end zone is where Andrew Schimnacher made that play. Made that play a lot last year, too. He was one of those big receivers that we were going to expect to have some big games. I know Zykeith Campbell, another player. How did Elijah Boyd play? Because I know he was on the Lone Star Varsity Super Team, a running back that really kind of came on later on this season.
He played well. You could tell that he's going to be a force out of the backfield for him. They used him sparingly in this game. I think Cole Carter ended up running the ball a little bit more than Boyd, but Boyd is a presence on there. He's hard to bring down. In fact, there was one play where he just brought it up the middle and ended up actually injuring another player, or an Amarillo player, just from impact. You could almost hear it in the press box.
Truck stick.
Yes.
Good old truck stick. Gotta love the Madden. But of course, that wasn't the only game today. We had some other games that we're going to talk about. Next one we're going to talk about, of course, is Lubbock High getting a huge overtime victory over Seminole, who, of course, as everyone knows, has two Division I prospects, that being Reese Moore, who's verbally committed to Texas as an offensive lineman, but he does play tight end for Seminole, and Cade Barnard, a linebacker, running back, although he did play a little bit of quarterback in that game. That was covered by Phil Torino, of course. He was tweeting from @LoneStarVarsity, of course. If you ever need any updates on any games in the 806 playing area, you can always go to @LoneStarVarsity, and, of course, for all the other games that we're going to kind of preview a little bit, it's going to be Lubbock High and Seminole. Afterward, we'll talk a little bit about the Shallow Water Idalou TV game. I was at that game to cover that one, and then we'll kind of do a little bit of a roundup afterward, just kind of get some thoughts. And then, of course, you and Mike Graham, who was at Coronado, at Plainview Coronado, with the huge victory over there. We'll kind of go over that one to kind of round this out. And then, of course, you guys will talk about it on the podcast, the Lone Star Varsity podcast on Saturday, which you can also check out on SoundCloud.com and, of course, iTunes. Look up Love Hub. But going back to Seminole and Lubbock High, I believe Seminole kicked a field goal, got them up 17-14. And I can't remember where Lubbock High was, but it was close to about the 20 to 25 yard line. Again, I apologize. If you read the paper tomorrow, Phil Torino will have all the exclusive story Of course, Christian Coleman was another player that had a very good game there. We actually have an interview that we'll get to in a little bit. But the important thing is Isaiah Johnson. This is a name that you will hear a lot. Last year, he kind of came on as a freshman last year, had some great games against San Angelo Lakeview. Had, I believe it was almost a 200-yard game against San Angelo Lakeview. Then, unfortunately, the season ended abruptly and kind of a little bit shortly, too, because of a broken collarbone and a non-contact injury. But now he's back healthy and was able to get a game-winning, I know a lot of people don't like it when I say this, but walk-off touchdown, because he literally walked off the field after he scored that touchdown, and they won 20-17, marking the first time Lubbock High has won their Week 1 game since 2000, so 17 years, which is another remarkable thing when you consider that they broke a decades-long playoff drought back in 2012. I know you were here with Phil when you guys kind of spoke with Jason Strunk. I guess just in terms of what Lubbock High did today, I guess, does that really reverberate, or is it a big upset? Because I think this is huge for Lubbock High in terms of just confidence, knowing that you start undefeated.
I think it just entails that there's going to be more positive things coming out of Lubbock High. This one was a tough one, obviously. We really thought Seminole was going to be a tough team this year, and they are. I still think they're going to be a tough team and make a playoff run. But Lubbock High being able to kind of come away with this win, I think it just entails that there's a lot of positive things coming from Strunk in the game.
Yeah. And
to do it in the fashion that they did is really impressive. I mean, when you go 4 quarters, that's exhausting in itself, but keeping your energy high in overtime and being able to perform and just get out there and continue to keep playing and playing at a high level is difficult at any level.
Yeah.
I think Isaiah Johnson is a name we're going to hear more about moving forward. I think you kind of predicted his
a little bit. I mean, let's just say Jason Strunk has been talking a lot about him, so he's going to probably get some looks from Division I teams at some point. Of course, he's a sophomore, so he can't really hear much up until his junior season, but up until then, we've been talking a lot. Let's let one of the Lubbock High players talk a little bit. Christian Coleman, a wide receiver for Lubbock High.
What just happened?
It's our team. It's our team. We have gone way better than we have been the past several years. We have grinded. We've done all we could to be the best that we could be. I give all the respect to every single one of those that wear the gold and black with me. I love them, and there's gonna be more to come from us. Just wait.
How much did it take to get here, to get this win?
It was tough. It was a big climb, considering what's been happening the past several years. We never going 1-0 during the opener, having losing seasons back to back to back. But this time, we have a chance to have something different. We have a chance to go out there and dominate. We have one of the best coaches in West Texas to go out there and lead us to a victory.
Once again, appreciate Phil Torino getting that video from us. Of course, a Christian Coleman, a wide receiver for Lubbock High. We appreciate Christina Rangel telling us that it was the 25-yard line. So once again, this is Facebook Live. Of course, we're getting all your questions if you have any, or if you have any other comments that you'd like to leave us right here under the little comment box. Don't forget to leave that, and we'll definitely try and get to it when we can during the broadcast. But before that happens and anything else kind of falls in the background, which we apologize for, but you've got Idalou, Shallow Water. That was a game I was at. The first Texas high school football days. That was kind of a cool deal. I mean, just for you, obviously, I know we talk a little bit about it, but you played at Pecos. What would that be like? Small town, and then all of a sudden Fox Sports Southwest. I mean, I know it's a national kind of deal. Obviously, the state of Texas kind of sees you. What does that say just as a small town, just to be able to kind of host something like that?
I think it just kind of helps bring attention to not only West Texas football, but these are teams that, you know, in the last couple of years have made names for themselves. So I think it just kind of helps prove that the athletic program itself is heading in the right direction, because they don't just go out and just pick any. Well,
absolutely.
Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But I mean, these are two names that they probably looked at and they said, well, this is going to be a game. This is something we need to get out to. So I think it says something positive about both the programs. I think to play in one of these games would be really cool. Yeah. Go home and get to watch it instead of watching it on tape the next day, you know, without a coach breaking down every little thing. Yeah. But no, I think it was good for them. And talking with the coaches, it looked like it did, or it sounded like it did a lot of good things for the community.
Absolutely.
It got a lot of people involved, and you know, it might have been a grind for the coaching staff, but it gets the kids some pub, and I think it's just a positive for both squads. But now I guess we can talk a little bit about the game itself. Kind of a good one. I think it was a good one for Shallow Water.
Yeah, scouting report going into it. All the kids said, well, we got a fresh cut. I mean, you got to when you're going to be on TV. And, of course, they kicked it off. And the biggest thing, Shallow Water got got the coin toss, elected to receive, had one run from Brody Hendrick, and then all of a sudden you get to the 30, and then, of course, you get Cutter Sparks, who was a player we mentioned last year, a great quarterback, dual-threat quarterback, can run, can throw. And then he just throws a bomb, 70 yards, to Hayden Vandergrost. I apologize if I mispronounce your name, Hayden, but spoke to him afterward. He said the team really worked on that play just because they knew that they had a 5-yard out, and then there was a little post pattern, and that's what he ran. And Cutter basically saw him open because both of the DBs kind of went to the 5-yard out, and they were able to make that big play. And right after that, they made another big play, 14-0. Then Idalou kind of cut that in half. Mark Caballero got his touchdown, but then after that, Shallow-Water just continued to roll on. They scored on their first 5 consecutive possessions, got it to 35-7 by halftime, and from that, it was just a running game both ways. And, I mean, Shallow-Water was very impressive, at least for me, considering last year they only had 2 wins. I mean, the turnaround is coming with that. Brian Wood was very, very complimentary about Cutter Sparks, who finished 9 for 9, 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. And, of course, you got Brody Hendrick, who also ran very well. Cutter Sparks also ran for, I believe, 60 yards and a touchdown. But, I mean, he just showed his dual-threat ability, showed he could make every throw on the field as well. Brody Hendrick was very complimentary. And then a guy named Kobe Wood, as you well know because you kind of spoke to Coach Brian Wood, his son. He came of course with him. Huge player at the wide receiver position, had some key plays on the sideline going into the end of the second half. Actually made some great plays on the sideline, allowed him to score that last touchdown and kind of get it to 35-7 and kind of give you that cushion, because I know a lot of coaches, everyone always wonders, well, why'd you score that extra touchdown? You never know. Sometimes it happens, and I spoke to a few Idalou fans that were asking me about that, and it's because 2 years ago, as you and Phil kind of well know, Idalou was down 25 points late in the third quarter. They made it up, and they came back, and they won that one. So certainly there was a lot of intrigue in that one. But anything else you kind of wanted to mention? I spoke to Dr. Susan Elza, UIL athletic director. She kind of came to watch that one, and I don't know if she caught the tail end of the Lubbock High Seminole kind of thriller, but she was just very happy to kind of see the town kind of come in droves, because it was standing room. There were people setting up their little campers in the end zone. I mean, it was really cool. It was a cool little atmosphere.
Well, I think one of my takeaways from this game, just kind of looking at it from outside perspective, just score and kind of hearing you talk about it, is that Shallow-Water is a team that's going to be able to contend this year, considering, I mean, yeah, you get the 35-7 cushion, but I mean, coming out in that second half and making sure that the defense plays at the same intensity and, not just immediately dismissing, the fact that, oh, we're ahead.
Yeah.
Like, okay, like, I think that says a lot about them being able to just keep that intensity high. Idalou coming into this one, I thought that they were going to be, they are a tough team.
Absolutely. Huge running team.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm curious to see how Xavier Rodriguez did if he had gotten the claw in.
Well, here's the thing: is Shallow-Water, and I guess I can say this now, but you could tell Shallow-Water knew Idalou was going to run the football, and unfortunately, when you're a running team, and of course you can kind of speak to this coming from Pecos, but when you're a running team and you get down 14, 21 points, you got to pass the ball, and unfortunately, that's just something maybe Idalou wasn't ready for, and they just tried to run the ball, and like I said, they got it to 14-7. And it was just a tough deal where they just could not get that extra kind of push. And afterwards, I talked to Mark Caballero, the running back. Of course, everyone kind of knows, won All-State last year. Said the biggest thing for them was just getting rid of the mistakes. Still week 1. We got plenty of season. That's the one thing that everyone needs to remember. Even if you take a loss in week 1, the biggest change, at least when I've spoken to coaches, I'm sure you've heard the same thing, is from week 1 to week 2, because you see all the mistakes you made. You can fix those. And then week 2 is really where you kind of see where you're at.
Yeah, another takeaway I have from this is Shallow-Water last year, I don't want to say that they were a young team, but they had young players. And these players that we're talking about, Brody Hendrick, Cutter Sparks, Mr. Vandergross, I believe that's Hayden. Excuse me.
Careful.
No, these were all names that were on the roster last year that were contributors, and now, they're seniors that are stepping up. So I think now they're a little bit more experienced, and I think that showed in this one. And there was also another name, I think that you mentioned, Braxton Jurado.
Braxton Jurado, yes, sir.
Yes, he's another one of those players that was real young on the team last year, who I think he's going to help make an impact there. So I think this is an experienced group. So we'll see how they do moving forward.
Like I said, a lot of week 1 games, but then we'd be remiss if we missed this one. There was a big Thursday game at Lowry Field, or Plains Capital Park at Lowry Field, pardon me. Of course, that was Monterey against Odessa High. Odessa High looking to snap a 15-game losing streak. Monterey, of course, looking to kind of parlay themselves into a good year this year after going 3 rounds deep is another one. Of course, Coronado, as they played Plainview today, is looking to kind of start off on the right foot. They were up 24-21, looked to punt it. I believe it was like 12 seconds left, so they just needed to get it off. Unfortunately, it was just a one of those punts that, you know, the snap just happens. You know, it happens. Yeah. They weren't able to recover it. Odessa High recovered it in the end zone with only 6 seconds left, and Monterey was unable to obviously answer or respond. It was intercepted about, I will want to say, the 40 or 50, or pardon me, the 30 or 40, around there. A tough loss for Monterey, but like I said, week 1, it happens. You can bounce back. That's the biggest thing that coaches always talk about. If you're in adversity, how do you kind of adjust to it, or how do you go through it? And I think that's the biggest thing for the Plainsmen. I think they got plenty of bounce back. Yeah,
you got to believe that on Monday, come practice, they're working on snaps.
Yes.
They're working on that third element of the game that nobody really, or people
Special
talk
teams,
about it, but
game.
You know, it's that third element that you got to master. And I guess maybe that'll be the focus coming into this next week, because the offense did look impressive and the defense was good, despite giving up 21 points in the fourth quarter. Mm-hmm. So I actually saw Danny Servants today. Used to coach over at Estacado a couple years back, and now he's over there at Odessa, and they're excited. Yeah. I think they're more so excited in how they're going to continue their season, because the kids are now pumped.
Yeah.
The kids are now excited.
Yeah.
They know that they can win. So it should be exciting year for them, but I think Monterey can bounce back.
Absolutely. Well, let's just kind of go through some of the roundups here, because I know a lot of people are asking about, well, what are some of the scores? And we'll just kind of go through these. If anything kind of really sticks out to you, feel free to stop me, and we'll kind of get this done in a little bit, because I know Bradley, our producer, is kind of asking us to get this done. He's got a long day tomorrow. Hi, Bradley. Ropes, 71. Throckmorton, 35. Of course, that's a 6-man game. That was a huge game for Ropes. Throckmorton, the Greyhounds, known for their state title, so that's a huge win for the Eagles up there. Spring Lake Earth, Vega. Spring Lake Earth won that one 22-12. Tahoka 21, Crosbyton 13. That was a tough one because Tim Childers ran for over 260 yards. It's just, well, here's the thing. Typical Tim Childers is just the defense needs to kind of step up for Crosbyton. Of course, first-year head coach over there as well with Colby Huseman, so they're certainly trying to get things going over there. New Deal 54, Roosevelt 7. Hey, New Deal can score. We kind of knew that. Sands 54, Klondike 38, Whiteface 49, Whit Harrell 44, Lockney 19, Smyre 12, Anton 54, Spurs 7, Denver City 42, Midland Trinity 12, Lasbuddy 61.
I think that's a big win for Denver City to start
Absolutely,
the season.
Feel free. Matthew De La Rosa had a really good game, ran 9 times for 83 yards and a touchdown, and Alexis Mendoza and Aaron Mendoza scored a touchdown as well.
Matthew De La Rosa was a name coming in that we knew from last year. He got that varsity experience, and it looks like it just translated over to this year. And I think getting that first win is big for Denver City.
Yeah, absolutely. Not only that, but then when you get up 40-0 at halftime, I think that's a pretty good deal for you. We'll keep on rolling through. Lasbuddy 61, Loop 12. Abernathy had 28, Post 21. That was one where we knew it was going to be a close one. Last year I covered that one, the miraculous catch that I saw on the sideline. Easily the best catch I've seen in high school, where I can't remember his name right now. It escapes me. But I know Bryson Daly made the kick. He wasn't really a kicker, but he kind of pooched it with his foot. Was able to get that big win by a field goal over Post last year. Of course, that was with A.J. Reed and Michael Ferguson. Now A.J. Reed has graduated at Eastern New Mexico. Certainly a huge game there for Abernathy to start off on the good side this year, because that was last year when Bryson Daly, then a freshman, that's when he made his debut. So certainly looking for some big things here.
I like this result. This game itself has always been competitive. There was an interesting stat in today's paper, if you get a chance to kind of go back, from Michael Labar. This game has been competitive in the last couple years, and, you know, they bounced back from that. Abernathy bounced back from that 21-0 shutout last year to win the playoffs. Coming into this one, we knew that both teams were going to be hungry to win this one. Post kind of exact that revenge, and Abernathy to just start the season on a positive note after, you know, going as far as they did into the playoffs. But I think both of these teams are going to be, maybe they'll meet each other again in the playoffs. I think the result is interesting enough to say that they could see each other again in the playoffs this year.
Speaking of team that's hungry that went 3 rounds deep last year, almost forgot, Lubbock Coronado got a huge win, 56-14 over Plainview. So wasn't as close as it was last year. As we mentioned, Quay Gray did what Quay Gray does. He had about 300 plus yards in that game, and then of course Devin Morrison did what he did. Of course, you got Gerard Compton in the backfield, so certainly you got a lot of weapons there. And we'll just finish up with some of these real quick. Sudan 44, Rawls 21, Hale Center 50, Morton 14, Clyde 49, Brownfield 32, in a game where Clyde and Brownfield went back and forth, and then Clyde had a little bit of a run that kind of allowed them to win that game. So big win for Clyde. Slayton 36, Floyd Data 15. I just want to mention this only because I am drinking the Kool-Aid that Coach Stacy Martin is talking about. He said he had some quick guys, and certainly you are quick if you're beating Floyd Data by 36, because Floyd Data is a team that likes to run out the clock, so certainly that doesn't give you a lot of offensive possession. So the fact that they scored 36 is huge in my view. And then Lubbock Christian 28, Plain 7. We got Olton. This one's just coming in right now. Olton 28, Memphis 20. Big win over there for Olton. And of course, for anyone that's wondering, of course, you and Mike will actually be talking about this on the Lone Star Varsity podcast, which comes out every Saturday, or you guys kind of record it on Saturday, and then we'll obviously publish it a little bit later on SoundCloud. And of course, that's brought to you by University Medical Center, who we appreciate them kind of powering all these things that we do here. But
yeah, helping us help the community get these results and
absolutely
so.
Getting everything out here with the high school sports kind of atmosphere here out. But anything else you wanted to mention here, because I know that was a lot of information. We're going to try and do this at 11:30 or about midnight every Saturday, depending on what happens. Of course, like I said, we're going to be on Facebook Live, so if you're up late, you got the adrenaline going. I know you obviously had the adrenaline going after a football game. Sometimes I do as a sports writer. If you got a crazy game, sometimes you got it. You got a question you want to ask, you can always go right down in the comment box, ask it. You can mention, or you can kind of correct us like someone corrected me. We appreciate it, Christina Rangel. It was a 25-yard line that Isaiah Johnson ran it from. He was able to break a few tackles, and he walked off with a huge win for Lubbock High. Got them a 20-17 victory over Seminole, which was their first Week 1 victory since 2000. Huge, huge victory for the Westerners. But on that note, you got anything else, man?
No, next week, hopefully we get some questions. We
Absolutely.
definitely would love some interaction with our readers.
Absolutely. And then, of course, anyone that wants to interact with us on Twitter, of course, you got at AJ_B Navarrete, of course, at CM Silva Jr., and then, of course, you got Mike Graham at AJ_Mike Graham. Those are all the three guys that you can look for in terms of guys that usually kind of go out and kind of cover things. And if you're looking for all of kind of the coverage that you get, go to at Lone Star Varsity on Twitter as well. And then, of course, you can see everyone that's covering a game, or it'll retweet it, kind of give you all that information. And, of course, you can get, obviously, the video, the podcast, which is all brought to you by University Medical Center. But on that note, I think we're all tired. We're finally kind of losing the adrenaline now. So we appreciate you all watching. Like I said, this is another edition of the Lone Star Varsity Postgame Show. I'm Carlos Silva of AJ Media. This is Brian of AJ Media, and, of course, Lone Star Varsity. We'll see you next week.